Hi guys, this is 31 Days of Tarot, day number 2, with the top 5 tarot decks, but in my case we have 4 tarot decks, and there's a really good reason for that. This year was when I found tarot and when I started to learn tarot. And it's been a process for me, and I've been doing it slowly at my own pace. And I've really only been using and reading with one deck, and really strongly since August of this year. But I've got some decks before that started me off, and but I didn't find my special love soul deck, if you would call it. Anyways, that's what I think it is so far. I haven't found anything else that really resonates with me like this one does. But anyways, let's get into it. So the top deck, number 1, we're gonna start with the best here. So this is the Fountain Tarot, and it's absolutely stunning. It is everyone knows this deck. It's independently published. You can get it online, and this deck is just so, I don't even know. It's so gorgeous. And this is the last deck out of all these decks here. This is the last one I got. And I do have, up until just the end of December, these were the only 4 tarot decks that I actually had. I did have an Angel Tarot deck that I did end up gifting to someone. It came to my possession because someone gave me a bag full of cards at one point. But I gave that away a long time ago. And so it's really only been these 4, and the end of December I've acquired a couple new decks, so I didn't really include them in this because it was literally the last 3 days of December. So here we have the Fountain Tarot, and you know, this deck, it seemed like I was searching forever to find a tarot deck that really resonated with me, like most of the Oracle decks that I have. And then I found this, and there really isn't much else to say. I love the simplicity of the artwork. Even though tarot study is really never ending, I still consider myself on the beginner stretch of learning tarot. I've really only used this deck here in readings. I haven't really used those other decks at all in readings. So, once I got this deck, I really, started to get into it. So it really hasn't been that long that I've really been studying tarot. I've been trying to, but it was really hard for me until I found this deck. So yeah, and I really thought that I might be the images might be a little bit too simple for me, but I really like how neutral it is, and I think Kelly from The Truth and Story has said this in her videos when she talks about this deck, about how neutral it is, and I definitely agree. But yeah, no, it's just absolutely stunning. So yes, this is the Fountain Tarot. My favorite deck, number 1. Alright, so these next 3 decks, they really don't have any order in line for me here. I'm going to talk about the rider-waite, I think, first. So, everyone knows the rider-waite. I don't really need to, talk too much about the actual rider-waite. But the reason why I have it is because it's actually the first deck that I ordered when I decided that I wanted to start to learn tarot. And it is the Centennial Edition, and I like the coloring versus any other version of this deck. But I still do not like the images. The only reason I got it was kind of to compare. And ever since I've been using the Fountain Tarot, I've really been pulling this deck out just to compare. And like I said, I don't think I've ever done a reading with it, and I don't think I really, I don't know if I ever will, to be honest. Maybe I will, once I get comfortable with tarot. But right now, it's really been useful for studying and seeing the differences in the images and comparing them to the Fountain Tarot at least, but other decks as well. I've been looking for, it took me a long time to really think that the Fountain Tarot was going to be the deck that I needed, and I looked through a lot of decks, and I've seen a lot of decks, and yeah, that's the rider-waite. Let's move on. So, these next 2 decks, this is the Steampunk Tarot, and this deck I did get shortly after the rider-waite, and I was like, okay, you know what? This is the deck I'm going to read with. I think this really fits with me. I think it's going to work very well with me. You know, I like the imagery. And to be completely honest, I don't remember exactly what I was thinking. I don't hate it now. And I did read with it a little bit near the beginning before I really got into studying. But it is nice. What I really think is a problem for me is the images are just very darker shaded colors. Like, it's very dark. And I don't particularly enjoy that. I like to be able to see what I'm looking at, if that makes any sense. So this is a beautiful deck, and I do love the High Priestess card with the Tarot Reader, and that's one of the reasons why I got it, I think. So I do think that it is a nice deck for sure. And, you know, I'm not particularly into steampunk, but you know, if it were up to me, I would pick for top tarot decks. It would just be the Fountain, and that would be a boring video. So I'm talking a little bit about the other decks that I used before that. So, but this is all this year. Remember, I'm very new at this, so I do have a couple other decks that I got at the end of December. Once I get into working with those, I will talk about those a little bit more. And the next deck we have is the Tarot of Vampires by Ian Daniels, I believe. And the reason I got this deck is because of Racine from Owl Moon 513 on YouTube. And she's amazing, and she's one of the first people that I saw when I was on YouTube looking for tarot stuff, and basically showed me the way into this lovely community online here. So I just had to trust her, and I was really looking for decks for a long time, and she's someone that I really respected. So I decided to give it a go, and I'm not really into vampires. And you know what? I used this in the Tarot Perspective in August that was on Instagram, and I used this deck, and I found it very interesting comparing with the other two decks that I was using, and the guidebook for this deck is absolutely amazing. Sometimes I pull this, I think I read the Nine of Swords or Wands. I think it was the Nine of Wands, maybe. I read that in the book, in the guidebook, and I was just blown away. Like, it almost made me cry. And so sometimes I'll pull that book out with even just the Fountain Tarot and see what that book has to say, because it's a very extensive book. It has a lot of information in it. So I'm definitely not going to get rid of this deck because that guidebook is just amazing. So yeah, so that's Tarot of Vampires. So I hope you enjoyed this little video. It's nothing special, you know, I'm just you know, at the beginning stages of my tarot, so I'm basically just using the Fountain Tarot for the most part. And usually I'm not even taking out the rider-waite to compare at this point. I'm just using the Fountain. So this is my exclusive tarot deck at the moment. But like I said, I did receive a couple decks. There's two other decks that tarot decks anyway, that I've recently added to my collection and gifted myself for Christmas. And I'm super excited to get to know them a little bit, but it's only, like I said, it's only been a few days, so I will make some videos on those in the future. And I hope you guys have a wonderful rest of your day, and I will see you guys tomorrow with the 31 Days of Tarot.